Today, we're diving into a significant yet often overlooked topic for 2024, an upcoming election and its impact on defense stocks. Let's dive in. I'm here with Dylan Jovine from Behind the Markets. He's joining me to discuss what may be the most important election in 2024 that nobody is talking about. That's the election of Taiwan, and that they're holding on January 13th. Of course, we're going to talk about what this means for investors. Stay tuned because he's going to be sharing some defense stocks and a few others to keep an eye on. So fill us in, Dylan. Why is this election so important in terms of the stock market?
First of all, thanks for having me. I'm grateful to be here.
Yes.
Yeah, this is like the biggest election that everybody's not talking about. You know, we have our own presidential election coming up in November, but this is like the big election that nobody's talking about. And, you know, on January 13th, Taiwanese people are going to head to the polls and they're going to choose a new president. And on one side of that, you have the DPP party, and they are pushing for independence. And on the other side of that, you have the KMT party, and they want closer ties with China. Now, China has flatly said to the Taiwanese people, this election is a choice between war and peace. Quote, they said peace and war, quote. Mm-hmm. So some folks are calling this the war and peace election because a win by the pro-independence DPP party could lead to a Chinese invasion of Taiwan. Now, look, I pray we don't go to war, of course, but I also believe the best way to avoid war is with strength. You know, that's the best way to get peace is with strength. You know, as Teddy Roosevelt said, you know, walk softly and carry a big stick. And that's the kind of approach we're taking here. We're trying to build up such a massive military deterrence that China is deterred from taking action on Taiwan. And that means there's plenty of defense contractors out there that are going to benefit from this big military buildup. And I'm not even talking about like the old ones, like my father's defense contractors, like Northrop Grumman or Lockheed Martin. They're going to benefit too. Mm-hmm. But the real cool action is in a lot of these smaller defense contractors that are really taking a new approach to technology, that are really looking, what they're doing is really changing warfare. And I think those are the companies that are most interesting and frankly, that have the most upside.
All right, yes, let's talk about that opportunity here. So kind of politics aside and rather looking at the market impact, why should our viewers really care about this situation? I know you touched on it a little bit, but dive into that a little bit more if you would.
Yeah, so a lot of folks don't know that Taiwan makes 90% of the advanced semiconductors that power the world's computers, our smartphones, you know, televisions, the brake sensors in our cars. I mean, a Chinese attack on Taiwan would be like, you know, cutting off the oil supply. Mm-hmm. You know, semiconductors are like modern day oil. They are critical. We can't function without them. So if China took Taiwan, they could threaten to withhold semiconductors for anyone who doesn't approve of their decision to invade Taiwan. I mean, it's a big problem.
And another thing to point out here, Dylan, is that 1/3 of all products pass through the South China Sea. So talk to us a little bit about that. How is that going to impact world commerce?
Well, I mean, you know, God forbid China invades Taiwan, you know, and there's a conflict in the South China Sea because, you know, you're 100% right, Lacey. I mean, nearly 1/3 of all trade look around your house. 1/3 of everything in your house passes through the South China Sea. Mm-hmm. You know, your kitchen table, the couch, the Christmas tree, you know, the pictures on the wall, you know, your computers. I mean, everything, shoes, rubber tires, washers, dryers, bikes, microwaves, toasters, you name it. Mm-hmm. 1/3 of it passes through the South China Sea. So a Chinese attack war in the Taiwan Strait would instantly freeze 1/3 of global trade, which would basically spike everything else up dramatically. You know, if you cut off 1/3 of the supply. So we have a very strong interest here in trying to convince China in spending that money militarily to deter China from doing this.
All right. So like you said, kind of whether this invasion is going to happen or not, one thing is certain, defense spending is, of course, going up. So what stocks should our viewers be looking at to take advantage of this huge military buildup?
Well, yeah, the first thing I would say is, and that's a great question, the first thing I would say is, the question is, what should you not own first? You know, for example, you know, which Taiwanese stocks. Earlier this year, Warren Buffett, famous long-term value investor and one of my personal heroes, he bought a big piece of Taiwan Semiconductor, but he ended up selling it just 4 months later because of the geopolitical tensions happening between the US and China. So most folks don't own Taiwanese stocks directly, but almost everybody watching this who has an IRA, 401k, pension plan, et cetera, there's a good chance you own them in a retirement account or 401k, indirectly. So the first thing I would do is I would check my accounts and I would try to see if I own any. And here are a few of the most at risk. I wrote them down. The Fidelity China Region Fund, the Templeton Dragon Fund, the iShares MSCI Taiwan ETF, the Franklin FTSE FTSE Taiwan ETF, and of course, direct companies like Taiwan Semiconductor. So the first thing I'd be thinking of is how to protect what I have. So I would want to get those risky, I would follow Buffett on this, get risky Taiwan companies kind of out of the portfolio.
Great point about checking your accounts, even if they're not investing in them directly. All right, so tell us more now about the stocks investors would want to own.
Fair enough. So I think there's great potential in defense contractors like Palantir. Now, Palantir is not like a typical defense contractor, and I know you've talked about Palantir before. But Palantir is like what I call a new age defense contractor. And really, to understand how special this company is, just go to Palantir.com and check out their Gotham system. What you're witnessing is the birth of AI in warfare. And Palantir has been Ukraine's secret weapon in its war against Russia. So really, this is really advanced stuff, and you could learn about it at their, again, in their Gotham demo on their website. But I'd also look into companies like hypersonic weapons maker Spirit Aerosystems and drone maker AeroVironment Corp.
Why those specific stocks, Dylan?
Well, I mean, Spirit Aerosystems is a key player in the hypersonic missile space, and the Pentagon has said hypersonic missiles are their #1 priority. So basically, you have a firm that makes the right weapon at the right time. I mean, massive spending is going. The Pentagon has said, we're going to build hypersonic missiles. And this is one of the firms that's a key driver of that. So, right place, right time. And the second one, AeroVironment, they make drones. And again, this is critical for the military's thinking about this. I've read the military strategy papers. And what they're arguing is, how do we defend against a country that has 1.4 billion people? So, the idea is, how do you defend against that? And the way that future warfighters are thinking about it is massive swarms, frankly, of drones that all share information and are able to do targeting and pinpointing and all that kind of stuff in real time. So drones, hypersonic missiles, and AI, those are 3 ways to play this potential coming conflict with China. And hopefully, with a big enough buildup, we actually dissuade them from making a move against Taiwan and keep everything safe so we can both countries can keep on just making money and working together.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Dylan, for sharing the news on this latest situation and offering some stock picks here to our viewers. If you found this insightful, please let us know in the comments below. Let us know what you'd like me to discuss with Dylan next. Otherwise, I will link how you can find Dylan in the description below. Thanks so much for joining me.